Gluten intolerance, that's the subject we're going to talk about now, and with us to talk about that is Teri Martindale. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
What is gluten intolerance?
Gluten intolerance is the body's inability to process gluten.
And what is gluten?
Gluten is a protein that you find in wheat, barley, and rye.
Yeah.
It's the protein that makes it, it's like glue. It makes it kind of stretchy when you think about bread. And the action of yeast on bread, how it stretches that bread, makes it grow and makes it really
I like
delicious.
that, though.
That's what gluten does.
Okay. But why I'm thinking about the caveman. Was he gluten intolerant?
Well, the caveman, whatever grain that he ate, he had to gather and with a stone of some sort process. And of course, they didn't make flour. I mean, bread is a part of all indigenous cultures, but they didn't have the amounts that we have now. What's happened in the last 150 years is that we have created wheat in particular that has lots of gluten in it because we like it. You know,
so it's a matter of how it's been crossbred.
It's been hybridized and then it infiltrates lots of our food. Anything that's processed, for the most part, is going to have gluten. If it doesn't say, it won't say gluten. It'll say wheat product, barley. There are many different names that help you identify if it has gluten in it. So that's one reason that we have become, as a people, sensitive to it, is because we've overdone it.
Yeah.
But some people also just have a gene for celiac disease, and that gene predisposes you to celiac disease. And if you have a full-blown celiac disease, my understanding, I'm not a physician, but my understanding is that if you have like Crohn's disease or full-blown celiac, that there's no doubt you are gluten sensitive or intolerant.
So it's a digestive problem, or
it happens. It happens there.
Yeah.
And when we think of it, we think of, oh, if you have bloating, a lot of digestive problems, you connect that with celiac disease, and you might connect that with gluten intolerance.
Yeah.
But gluten intolerance presents itself in many different systems of the body. My issue was not, I always had, we all say, oh, my body just does that. I just can't eat that. Or I always have this going on with my digestive system. We kind of get used to those things. Well, I had some of those things, but I also had some other serious issues. I had a really serious illness 3.5 years ago, and when I survived that, I decided I needed to find out kind of what's the root. At that age, at age 50, I should not have gotten that sick. So what are some issues in my life that I can improve? And diet was one of the most important things, as I found out and worked with my doctor. And she just kept pushing me to test for gluten sensitivity.
So there is a test for it?
There is a test. And what's good about that is that this is a test that you can order yourself. You don't have to go through your physician. You can order this at, there's a lab called Entero Lab, E-N-T-E-R-O lab.com. If you go to that website, you can read about gluten sensitivity, and they offer many tests, but that's the test that I did.
Is it a blood test?
It's not. It's, it's a stool test.
Okay, all right.
And you do it yourself at home. And if it comes back that you are sensitive, that your body creates antibodies to gluten, it's not like an allergy. Sometimes people can say, oh, I'm allergic to this, and the doc may say, stay off of it for a year or 2 years, and you may find that your body kind of recovers from that. You won't recover from gluten sensitivity. If your body makes antibodies against that protein, it will always do that. So you have to completely take it out of your diet.
Okay. So for people, how do you know what's gluten? What I mean, like you processed foods. how do you know that it has gluten in it? Will it save gluten, or will you just stay away from wheat, or?
Anything with wheat, barley, or rye, like barley malt is a sweetener that you find in lots of processed foods. You read a lot of labels, and there are some great books. This is a good example of the gluten connection that, in layman's terms, kind of explains the issue.
It sounds like you're very knowledgeable. It sounds like you've done a lot of research.
Well, when you get to that place, you kind of have to, because our society isn't set up for people that are gluten intolerant.
And it sounds like you want to comply with what you have to make your life better. So
that's right, and I do feel better.
Yeah, good. Now, your support group, let's talk about that. Is this something you started, or is it already started?
I sort of organized the one here in Harrison. The main one in the state of Arkansas is in Little Rock, that has been around for a while. But when I became gluten intolerant and realized that there were other people out there and there were no supports, and for the most part, our society doesn't really even know what that means.
Yeah.
And some people think it's a fad. That'll go away. But it won't go away. The estimates are that 1 in 4 people are gluten intolerant, but they are not diagnosed with that.
So other than you, somebody else may be gluten intolerant in this room?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, and people don't, that's not something people think about, because it's not diagnosed. It's not diagnosed.
They don't consider it life-threatening because there's not horrible emergency symptoms associated with it.
But it's like a lot of other issues, you don't see the problem until it's really big, until it becomes, another physician, William Davis, is a preventive cardiologist, wrote a book called Wheat Belly, and it's a pretty new book that talks about the other the systems in the body that are affected by gluten intolerance.
Now, well, you talk about these issues at your support group, right? When do you meet?
We meet the first Monday of every month in the Jenny Hammerschmidt room in the Durand Center.
Okay.
6:30.
That's not in the Durand Center, not the convention center, but it's one of the side rooms.
It's one of the side rooms. That's right. As you go in that main door and go to the right, and just kind of take that curve, it's that room.
And it's open to everyone?
It's open to everyone.
Any yearly fees or anything to be a part of that?
No fees. We talk about that issue of gluten intolerance and how it affects our lives.
Okay.
Support each other.
All right. Every first Monday of each month at what time again?
At 6:30.
6:30 p.m. All right.
Except for September, because that first Monday is Labor Day, so it's going to be Tuesday the 4th.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we're going to skip that meeting. All right.
We're going to go to the 4th in September, but otherwise the first Monday.
Do you talk about eating alternatives too? I mean,
we do.
Substitutions and that kind of thing?
Yes. The really good news is that most real food is gluten-free. Real food. You're not going to find a vegetable or a fruit that has gluten in it, or a pure meat that has gluten in it. It's what we do to it.
It sounds like we need to get back to the way the caveman used to eat then. Is that correct?
That's a good way to put it, yeah.
All right. Well, it's nice to meet you.
Thank you.
And if you're interested in maybe joining this support group, or just maybe coming in, just sitting in and seeing what it's all about, there's no pressure there, I would assume. Maybe Teri puts pressure on you, I don't know.
No pressure.
Doesn't look like she's a very pressure-oriented person. But check that out. Mondays at every first Monday of the month, except for this coming September. They're not going to have a meeting at 6:30.
Yeah.
Thanks, Teri.
Thank you.
Thank you. Up next, we're going to talk with Michelle Jarjora. She's the new events coordinator at the Harrison Regional Chamber of Commerce. We'll meet her in just a few minutes. Talk about Balloon Festival. Stay with us. Not really a balloon festival, but